Wisconsin, here in Madison, at Bakke Athletics. Her involvement with Rock City Boxing includes coaching the main Rock City Boxing program, as well as running small group and one-on-one training with individuals with Parkinson's disease. She has also obtained her Parkinson's cycling certification and numerous advanced Parkinson's specific certifications. A little tidbit Patti did not mention in her bio to me, but I know about, is that she was named the 2020 Rock City Boxing National Coach of the Year. Kjersten came along today. I do not really have a bio, so I'll let her tell you about herself in her own words. So please welcome Patti and Kjersten.
So I'll get my introduction out of the way and then Patti can take over. I didn't know if I was going to be here. My story, in addition to basically telling or having Patti tell me what she needs done for the Rock Steady Boxing program. I'm a graduate of the University of Wisconsin. I have a neuroscience degree. I played basketball, ran track there. I then went on to spend 5 years at Epic. I needed something new, so I went to law school. I went to Michael Best and practiced patent and trademark law. And then in some weird, crazy way, I ended up now doing what I do and absolutely love it. So that is mine. You don't really need to know any more about me than that. I'll get out of the way and let Patti talk, and we'll maybe ask some questions of Patti that can steer the ship a little bit and give you guys exactly what I think you will all need to know about this incredible program.
I don't like talking to groups. That's how I'm gonna start out. Okay,
You do it every day.
I do it every day. But basically what I want to talk about is my Rock Steady Boxing program. But in order to do that, can you hear me okay? Okay. In order to do that, I think I have to give a little bit of background on Parkinson's, so it makes sense what we do. I don't know how familiar people are with Parkinson's. It's a neurodegenerative disease. There's no cure for it. Basically, people go see a doctor, they're told they have Parkinson's, there's no cure, and they kind of are sent home. And it's kind of a closed door. So what we try to do at our Rock Steady Boxing program is open that door up and give some ways to deal with your Parkinson's. So for those of you that aren't familiar with Parkinson's, I'm just going to give you some basic things that you need to know about it. In addition to being a neurodegenerative disease, there are primary characteristics of Parkinson's that people get that people are probably familiar with, like the people that are very familiar with the tremor. Most people I've seen, someone with Parkinson's has a slight tremor, some a little bit more. In addition to tremor, there's a lot of rigidity that goes on for people with Parkinson's, especially in the trunk area. There's also akinesia or bradykinesia, where they have a slowness of movement. And it becomes pretty obvious when you see these people. And the other primary one is postural instability. People with Parkinson's tend to have a stooped posture. They're leaning over a little bit more. They don't have a very strong core. They're this way. And then you'll notice when they're walking, smaller steps. And you'll also notice a lack of arm swing with most people. So their gait's impaired. Those are the primary ones, and those are the ones that you see on the surface. There is so much more that is going on with these people. Beyond that, and I won't go into the long list of them, but I think what's important for you to know is along with that comes apathy, depression, people lose their sense of smell, everything becomes smaller, their voice gets more quiet. A big part, or the main part of what is going on is with Parkinson's, there's a loss of dopamine. And dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It communicates between your brain, the muscles in your body, and it helps you with movement. When you don't have the right amount of dopamine, which is what happens with people with Parkinson's, movement becomes more difficult. We also kind of all know from just out in the world that dopamine is a mood kind of thing. It affects your ability to be happy. It affects your ability to feel pleasure. And that's where you find the crossover of people with Parkinson's having apathy, depression, and just it's a lot more difficult for someone with Parkinson's to get motivated. Let's face it, most people aren't super motivated to exercise. For some people, it's natural and they want to do it. But you throw in this loss of dopamine and then people losing their motivation. It's real difficult to get these people with Parkinson's to come out and exercise. And they say by the time someone is diagnosed with Parkinson's, they have lost 70 to 80% of their dopamine, which is huge. And that's at the time of diagnosis. So most of the people who come to our program, by the time they're diagnosed, I would feel comfortable saying they've had Parkinson's for numerous years. It's taken a long time. There is no test for Parkinson's. So it's kind of by process of elimination that they'll finally get the diagnosis of Parkinson's. So most people are a couple years into their journey already and are already having some significant issues by the time they're diagnosed with Parkinson's. Other things that are super important, someone who has Parkinson's that you don't see on the surface is
Swallowing.
Pardon?
Swallowing.
Yeah, so swallowing is a big one. You start to lose your muscles, you have rigidity, you also lose the ability to swallow. You lose the ability to activate your voice loud and clear. The swallowing can be a big issue when we don't use these muscles because people will get aspiration pneumonia. People think they're chewing their food. They think it's going down. In fact, it's sitting in their lungs. So a large majority of these people, they end up with aspiration pneumonia somewhere down the line.
How many people in here know someone with Parkinson's?
Oh, we all know.
Okay,
Wow,
well, okay. Yeah, outside of here. You have multiple people?
We have a member.
Yeah, I understand that. Yeah, yeah. All right. So we've seen, I think in the last month, we have 8 or 9 people waiting to get into the class as it is. And I feel like numbers are, if we're diagnosing them more earlier, that could be it. Or if we're just seeing a little bit of an uptick here post-COVID, which is possible.
Yeah, and I think, so there's a couple things. I think more people are finally getting diagnosed. I mean, if you look at it as the population ages too, that plays into it. But in the United States alone, they estimate, and I think this is an underestimation because it's so difficult to diagnose the disease. They estimate there's 1 million people in the United States and about 10 million worldwide. That's a lot of people with Parkinson's out there. So it's high, and it's usually, I think, 50% higher in men than women. So we see more men in our classes, but we do have women there as well. And they say like by 2030, this number is going to make this huge leap. So I imagine that the numbers are going to just keep getting bigger and bigger, as time passes. Okay, so I'm gonna let Leanne show a clip of our program.
Actually, Dan's gonna.
Dan, and I'm just gonna preempt it with, this is a brief clip of our program. It's taken from Rocksteady Boxing headquarters. It'll show you one piece of what we do at Rocksteady, and that's the boxing piece. And that is just one small piece of what we do. After the video is shown, I'll talk to you specifically about our program because our program, I think, is unique. I'm also a little biased in that I think our program is really good. Kjersten has allowed me the leeway to work with people who have other movement disorders, as long as it's something that their physician agrees with. So anyways, check the video out. It's cool. Don't get freaked out when you see people going crazy. It's a ton of fun.
Yeah, so this, to be clear, this isn't our gym. This is from Rocksteady Boxing headquarters in Indianapolis, but many of the principles are the same.
Here in Indianapolis, Rocksteady Boxing looks like a typical boxing gym. The group gathered here, though, is far from the professional ranks. Many are new to the sport. They will not participate in an actual bout or even spar. A different and uniquely formidable opponent looms for these men and women. They are facing Parkinson's disease.
The doctor tells you that you have Parkinson's, and it's degenerative, means it gets worse every day, and it's incurable. Now, if you put that together, you realize that as crummy as you feel today, this is the best you're ever gonna feel. Tomorrow you'll feel worse, and the next day you'll feel worse. It's hard to get up out of bed in the morning when that is the equation that governs you.
Scott Newman knows firsthand the difficulty of this equation. At age 40, he was diagnosed with early onset Parkinson's. The former Indianapolis district attorney soon found himself depressed and robbed of his ability to write and type. Then a friend suggested he try a boxing workout.
All I knew is after 6 weeks of intense boxing training, I was getting better. I could sign my name again. I was able to type again. I don't think I'd be sitting here today if we hadn't done this.
1, 2, 3, kick some ass! This is Rocksteady Boxing, which Newman founded in 2006. The program opened the first non-contact boxing gym dedicated to people with Parkinson's disease. Over 200 people take classes here, and almost 300 affiliates have opened across the country. Hit somebody! Come on, baby! Newman recruited former pro boxer Christy Rose Fulmar as the program's director. Why does boxing seem to work as opposed to other sports?
It's this concept of what's called forced intense exercise. So in other words, pushing yourself out of your perceived limits. And we need to focus on things like balance and speed, hand-eye coordination, rhythm. And a lot of these components are mixed into a boxer's workout.
1, 2, 1, 2. Hard right hand, hit somebody. Come on, hit somebody. 3, come on. 2, 1, and a rest. Good job, stand up straight.
You don't take it easy on them, huh?
Hell no.
You must get a lot of raised eyebrows, though,
I do.
when you mention we're using boxing as a therapy for Parkinson's.
Well, they don't realize we're talking about fundamentally unlocking a better quality of life for people in a way that clinically can be measured and has been measured.
Boxing is not a cure for Parkinson's disease, but we've compared the people that box on a regular basis to people who do a different type of exercise on a regular basis. And what we found were that even though the severity of their disease is the same, the people that were boxing are maintaining a higher level of function over time than the people that were doing just a more traditional type exercise program.
I take medication, but there's nothing that will give me the confidence that this gym gives me.
Tracy Moats was diagnosed at age 54, and 18 months ago, she came to Rocksteady for the first time.
I couldn't hit the speed bag twice. I couldn't jump rope twice. There were so many things that I couldn't do from the first day that I came, and they were teaching me how to punch one of the bags. I was just seeing it as Parkinson's, and I'm not going to let it win. I'm not going to let it take my body over.
It's clearly physical once they're in here, but how emotional and psychological is it?
I see people come in here in tears and having to retire early and losing their driver's license and thinking their life is over, and they're told by their doctors to just get their things in order, get prepared for end of life. And suddenly they start exercising and they're making friends and they're getting stronger and they're standing up straighter. I watch people get their lives back.
For his part, Scott Newman has no illusions of defeating Parkinson's, but boxing history does provide some inspiration.
Good job.
I think of myself as like maybe Henry Cooper, the British fighter that knocked down Muhammad Ali, okay? He threw one good punch and Muhammad Ali went down and he knew he'd been in a fight. And that's what I want Parkinson's to know, it's been in a fight.
Well, that was counterintuitive. Amazing, Melissa, and very personal for you because you have a close relative who's dealing with Parkinson's. So how thrilling.
So what do you think?
Wow.
So, Christy Rose is the person that, the woman that was holding the mitts that I got to take my training from. So I feel very lucky to have had that opportunity to train with her. But I'm going to talk to you specifically about our program in Madison, or in Fitchburg, I should say. We started our program in 2016, and we started with 5 people. It's the only one in the state, so we had people coming from like Lake Mills, Lake Geneva, Dodgeville, and it was just a group of 5. And our program now, and it fluctuates just by the nature of Parkinson's, what the disease does, and injuries and different things that people have going on in their life, but we'll go between 60 fighters to about 75. And what we do, and which most places do, is if someone's interested in the program, we say, hey, come out, check it out, see what we do. We have them observe the program. And then once they see what we're doing, we invite them in to do an assessment. And that assessment helps me place people in a group. We have 2 different groups. We run a group, which is a very higher level, low as far as symptoms. You can't be a fall risk at all. And then we have a second group where people are either more of a fall risk or they have cognitive issues that stop them from being able to do quick transitions. One of the things that she didn't talk about in there is boxing. There's a huge cognitive component to boxing. All the punches are numbered. And so that is another reason why we have boxing in it. And she went through the reasons of why boxing kind of translates to Parkinson's. But so anyways, I kind of got off track a little bit. Our program started in 2016. I said it's gotten bigger. What we do is we split up our class. Half of our class is boxing. Before we do anything, we do a warm up. We want to get people warmed up, their muscles moving, get rid of stiffness. Once we warm up, we break into circuits and we try to focus on all the areas where boxing hits you. We might have a circuit that deals with balance, a circuit that deals with strength, coordination, a cognitive specific circuit where we're doing dual tasking, where people are having to be marching at the same time, counting down from 100 by 7, trying to challenge folks. It's hard enough if you don't have Parkinson's to do that. But anyway, so we break up our circuits based on all those areas where Parkinson's hits, and we rotate people through circuits. The nice thing is that you can modify for everybody. We have people at different levels. We also have people who are in there. Our youngest person is around 50. Our oldest is 90. And so we've got all these different ages, and we've got people with a lot of replacement parts, knee replacements, hip replacements, but a lot of issues, and we have to work around that. So there's modification for everything, and that's our job, to modify for them. That being said, when these people come in, they're not patients, they are athletes. They're here to be fighters. We don't treat them like patients. We push them hard. Our goal is to push them beyond their perceived limits. The whole idea of this program is sports high intense activity. And so that's where we're pushing it. That's been the only thing that's been shown to slow down the progression of Parkinson. So we focus on that a lot. But again, that is one piece of what we do. There are all these other areas, and we don't do the same workout every day. So it's important how we work in balance. One day is going to be really different to how we do it the next day. We'll do weights one day, bands one day, just depending on what the day brings. And we never want to repeat, because we want to make sure we're always working on trying to make people brains work and, push them a little bit more. Trying to think of what else I can throw in.
No, I think, so Rock City Boxing is a small portion of what we do as a bigger gym. So I have, I have professional athletes who, when they come home from overseas, they train at our gym. We have high school athletes who are D1, D2 kids going off to colleges. We have professional bodybuilders who are there training at a high level. We have people who have had previously infected hip replacements who are doing their rehab there. Under 18,000 square foot roof, I have a whole crew of human beings who are just trying to get better at whatever it is they're fighting. And it is so cool in the summer to watch our 15, 16, 17-year-old Division I, Division II athletes. You can stand back and watch them in the foreground, and these people who are fighting for the best quality of life possible in the back. And it is loud and it is intense. And these are all people who are just trying to get better at whatever it is. And we've somehow created this environment, and the kids love having those people there. Some of our kids volunteer for classes throughout the summer. And I think those adults love watching the energy of that young group. And it just adds to how hard these folks work. And to Patti's point, it is so important for us to treat them like athletes. Our expectations are that they're sharp, that their movement is good, that they're approaching every task with the most amount of confidence they possibly can. The rest of the world wants to treat them like patients. That's probably my poem here. Yeah,
You were looking at me.
Yeah.
Charge Kjersten $1.
You can charge me whatever. Yeah, so I think one of the things that you can't really get a full appreciation for until you're in the space is that they aren't patients, that these people are fighters, they're our athletes, and Patti's expectations and our volunteers' expectations for them is to come in and fight to make their lives as good as they possibly can right now, not tomorrow, not 3 weeks, but right now. So can you talk a little bit about how you approach like programming for a month, let's say, or like how do you lay out and sequence classes?
Question. Not sure how to answer that. No, you know what? I usually try to, there's core things that I'm always trying to work on. So I'm always going to incorporate certain things. But if I'm looking at, let's say, my Monday, Wednesday fighters, I will try to do I'll plan out 4 classes in advance, because I want to make sure that there are some things that we are never missing, that I am always working on core work, that I'm always working on gait work, some of the real basics. And so I will plan out those 4 classes, the Monday, Wednesday for 2 weeks with that in mind, not repeating exercises and then finding exercises where maybe, for example, on the Monday, we're working on some reciprocal movement and some opposite arm and leg movements, you know, and maybe Monday we're not doing that. We're just working side to side, you know, switching, whether it's side to side here. And then on Wednesday, they got it on Monday, most of them. Then I'm going to take it up a notch. And now when you're stepping back, you're doing that opposite arm, or when you're stepping to the side, making it a little more difficult. We try to add on. And at the same time, we recognize that some people are going to get it right away. And then the person who from day one or from that first day has gotten the exercise down, I'm like, okay, Leanne, it looks like you got it down. While you're doing that, I want you to do the alphabet, backwards, throw something else in. And so it's progressive. And so I don't want to start at something super complicated. It is important that I challenge them, but I don't make them feel overwhelmed. And I want them to gain confidence in what they're doing. And so there's a progression to what we're doing. I don't just willy-nilly throw something out on Monday and then Wednesday. I think she has another question for me.
So for those of you who are very familiar with Parkinson's, people say they're very familiar with Parkinson's because they know one person with Parkinson's. One person in one case of Parkinson's is only one case. So we have people whose Parkinson's progresses very rapidly in 5 years. We have other people who've had it for 30 and they're 83 years old. And you're like, yeah, for 83, if I can look like that, I'm in okay shape, right? What's the expectation when someone comes in and sits across the table from you in the initial assessment and they say, all right, what's my timeline? What's your answer?
It's actually funny because that is a question from a lot of people, because I think they leave their neurologist and they don't have a clue. They haven't been given much information. If someone comes into my office and we start talking about their disease, I will tell them I have no idea. I don't know what my timeline is. That everybody's case of Parkinson's is different. They call it the snowflake disease. It is so different from person to person. I can have one, like Kjersten was saying, the progression is different and how it manifests itself is different. So I try to, when I do an assessment on someone, when they come in and they're talking to me, I try to focus on where are you at now, see what the issues are that are going on with them. Like they have a gait, some issues with their gait, and then how can I help you from there? Try to have them focus on the things they can do, and then try to make them see that we can get you to a place where you can do more. I think a big part of it is getting them to have a little bit of a confidence in what they're doing. So I don't think there's no way to say to anyone, you have X amount of time to go. I try to present this program for what it is, and it's about hope, because people come in and they're kind of lost a little bit because they've been given this diagnosis. And I'll explain some things during an assessment that we're going to do, and they're like, I can't do that. And I'm like, no, we're going to try. And we just start with little steps, and people realize more and more that there's a lot more they can do, and that their world, instead of shrinking, can open back up again. When we get these people in class, like today's class had 38 people in it. It's a big group of people, and we're moving through a lot of things. Everyone there knows everyone's name. If people aren't there, there's like, where is Joanne today? Like, they know, and it goes beyond what we're doing in that gym. We have built a community of people. They are connected inside and outside the gym. I think there's a lot to be said where you can go into a space where you don't have to be conscious of, oh my gosh, someone's going to notice I've got this tremor, or that I don't move the same way that they do. They come in our space. They're surrounded by people who are doing the whole thing, or the same things that's going on with themselves that makes them comfortable. And then we do a lot of community kind of based activities. Like we just did the Parkinson's walk. We had a team of 112 people. We get out and do that kind of thing. We also have started our own support group, which meets twice a month, and it's led by 2 people who have Parkinson's that are in our group. So it goes much beyond what we're doing there. We have an incredible base of volunteers, of which Leanne is one. She's amazing, but they are all people who are there to give to these people and help with this program. So it's a cool thing. I'm biased, of course, but I've seen what it has done for people. and it has been amazing, so.
Yeah, I think it is really, I'm into the physical side of it, right? And the neurological benefit and all of those things. I think the thing that's most shocking to me is the lightness that shows up amongst a group of 38 people who have all the reason in the world to not feel good about their day and not feel good about their life. It's like they walk through the door and all of a sudden they're with their people, they're home. That's something that is really hard to quantify. Like, we have data on symptoms improving and all kinds of things happening from a physical aspect in these people. But I think for many of these folks, the only time they're getting out of their house to do something interesting is when they come to our gym. And so for an hour and 10 minutes, and a lot of them show up 20 minutes early and leave 20 minutes late. But for a lot of these people, this is it. And it's their family. It's their social time. It's what they get to feel good about. It's the thing that they get to take control of in their lives. And for many of them, it's super scary when you first walk through the door. We have people who are just new members, someone coming in for personal training with one of our other trainers, and it's at 10:30, and there's 38 people with a variety of tremors and a variety of movement problems, and they're like, what did I just walk into? And then they hear them pick on each other, and it's just like one big goofy family. So that component, that family component, that community component of what Rocksteady Boxing means and does for these folks is really, really hard to feel until you're in the space and to understand until you're there with them.
Your membership, is this physician referral, or people just find you and recognize it's going to be a fit?
So we have never really advertised the program, but we have gotten all of the people that are in our program via referral, friends telling friends about it. That being said, as people have been in our program and reported back to their neurologist is like, hey, what the hell's going on? Like, you know, you look like you're doing pretty good. So now the neurologists are sending people our way, which, yeah, they're one of our biggest ways we get referrals. Yes.
We have quite a few family physicians now. I trained 3 of them who send people to Rocksteady Boxing as well.
I'm just curious as to whether the members have insurance coverage for any component of the fees, or do they just pay on their own?
So that's complicated. There is a rider, and we can talk about this more. There is a rider that you get through some health plans that will pay for a membership, and then we kind of finagle it in so it covers part of Rocksteady. We do what we can as a gym to allow for that, but it is not, it should be, but it is not a physical therapy type of a treatment plan as of yet.
What did COVID do to you?
Back to you.
So as you, this is where I'm legally trained. And we have a lot of physicians who are.
You forgot to tell me you're also an attorney. I don't know.
So I'm an attorney, and I'm also, we have a lot of clients who are physicians. COVID presented an enormous challenge for us because we are simultaneously concerned about having these people in our space moving and having them at home not moving. And so we did our best to mitigate the risks at every turn. We did so very successfully. We didn't have a single case of COVID transmitted in our gym to our knowledge in the last 3 years. We were the first, I believe, Rocksteady Boxing program to bring people back in person. Yeah, is that true?
Yes.
But we couldn't watch people on Zoom deteriorate any longer. I had to make a really tough decision. We were open and honest about at the time what the risks were that we knew. But we saw too many people falling apart, and both physically and emotionally, they were locked in their house and crumbling, and we couldn't let it happen.
Zoom.
We offered Zoom as long as we could, and that even wasn't enough. And so, I mean, imagine yourself doing a Zoom class in a chair from your house with depression anyways.
When we did Zoom, we had it 4 days a week, and I thought, you know, it's pretty hard to get people. I'm going to be 63. It's pretty hard to get people who are older to log onto their computer and do all that. We successfully got 45 people to log in. I mean, we helped, and some of my fighters helped me. I have some people who are retired IT people, and they help. But we had 45 people sometimes at a time when we were running Zoom. which
On
I
your
was-
laptop.
Yeah, on a laptop, you know, and so it was pretty, you know, you do what you can, but at least they knew they had to be somewhere at 10:10. They had to show up, and if they had to work from a chair to be safe, that was fine. And they saw faces, but I will tell you that during the time the gym was closed, it took a big toll on people because we can't imitate what we're doing in a gym on Zoom. So it was a stopgap measure, but it was really good to get back in the gym.
Where are you located and what?
Yeah, so we're located in Fitchburg, behind the movie theater. We're up the hill, Commerce Park Drive, okay? By Wolf Appliance Sub-Zero there. It's $110 a month, and that includes the full membership for the boxer and one corner person, so a family member or a close friend. And that not only includes the classes, that also includes, we've made the decision, because the space is a safe space for these folks, that they get a general gym membership too. So it's not uncommon to see these folks in our space working out, getting some assistance from us outside of class time. Yeah.
And it's unlimited use for that month?
It is unlimited use for that
As
month.
long as you're open, you know.
Correct. Yep, that's correct.
You open 24/7? Yeah.
We're open 24 hours a day with people out. Yeah.
You mentioned you also have people out there with Parkinson's, disabilities.
So cerebellar ataxia, it's another movement disorder, Lewy body dementia, which is Parkinson's-like. Usually the first diagnosis is a Parkinson's diagnosis before the Lewy body diagnosis shows up.
There's also atypical Parkinson's, like supranuclear palsy, which is a much more faster advancing disease, and multiple system atrophy. Right now, I also do one-on-one sessions with people who have Parkinson's, and those are typically a lot of my people who have Lewy body dementia, MSA, which I just mentioned, and PSP, because sometimes it can be difficult to train them in a class where there's so much going on.
There was a question over here somewhere that I missed. Yeah.
So I know that your program sounds like it's really neat, but our mother-in-law in Des Moines who's involved in a similar program. How widespread is this one?
Okay, so Rocksteady, I believe this year, so there's headquarters in Indianapolis, and then there's affiliates. We are an affiliate, okay? And there are, right now, I believe 820 affiliates. We were the first in Wisconsin. I believe there's 12 in Wisconsin right now. We're the only one in the Madison area. There are affiliates internationally. So there's affiliates in Israel, Italy, all sorts of places. That's one of the nice things is I have people in my program who they do the program, and then it comes fall and they're like, hey, I'm going to Florida, and they can go to a Rocksteady location where they are.
They don't like it.
They don't like it as much because ours is better, but no, but so there are locations all over, especially where the snowbirds are, like in Florida and Arizona, and that works out great for my folks. All I do is communicate with that gym, but there are more and more locations everywhere.
You mentioned earlier that this would increase exponentially over the next 10 years. You know, what is the driver of that?
I think there's a lot of things that drive it. I think one thing is it's getting diagnosed now more frequently. I think the other thing is you look at the age of our population and we have more people old. There, you know, that's people tend to get diagnosed. I think they say the average age of diagnosis is around 60. So we're kind of getting to that. Pretty young, I'm feeling like, but and you know, they don't know what causes Parkinson's. They think there might be a genetic component. They also believe that like exposure to like pesticides, that kind of thing. And I think that we're just starting to get better diagnosis, earlier diagnosis. Michael J. Fox just came out with a new test, biomarker test, which I think is going to help as far as diagnosis and early intervention.
Yeah, I mean, we have several people in our gym who are siblings or mother, father, or my mom had it and my 6 siblings have it. I mean, there are situations like that. And for a while, they didn't know if there was a genetic component. I think it's undeniable. Just anecdotally from what we've been seeing.
Anything else?
Thank you.
All right. Oh, good.